Hello, Facebook friends. It's Carly, your online doctor, with today's Live in 5. Today is Wednesday, March 18th at 5:01 p.m. Okay, so let's continue a little bit on this COVID-19 updates and such. A couple of things. First of all, I was questioned by some people about the 0.7% that Dr. Birx mentioned yesterday in the task force presentation. I'm going to record that section and post it either in the comments today or yesterday's where I quoted her. Now I've listened to it 5 times and it still remains where she says outside of Wuhan, the mortality rate has leveled off at 0.7%. That said, understand that doesn't mean in your area that's going to be the mortality rate. The mortality rate in Florida, I think, is upwards of around I think we figured it out. It was about 1.5%. Certain New York, with the whopping number of cases, their mortality rate is very low, despite the number of cases that they have. So it's going to vary. What they're trying to say is that outside of Wuhan, maybe the virus is weakening some, and the transmission from person to person is producing a less virulent strain. Now, on that particular note, I talked about this in my Facebook Live with my team the other day. There's a factor called naught, R with a 0 next to it. Basically, it determines the contagiousness, the infectivity, whatever the word is, that determines how virulent, in a sense, a virus is. So that said, hey Kim, hey Teresa, hey Becky, thank you guys for hopping on. That said, the R naught for COVID-19 at this point is believed to be about 2.5 to 3, which means that for every one person infected, they could potentially infect 2.5 to 3 people. Now, people are saying this is the most contagious virus that's ever been out there, and that is absolutely not true. Okay, measles has an R naught of 12 to 18, meaning for every one person that got measles, 12 to 18 people could be infected from that one person. SARS, which was another coronavirus we had in the past, had a R naught of 5, or just about. Okay, so I am not taking away the severity of what's going on. I'm just trying to put out some calm out there. This is a virus that we are going to fight. We are going to get through it. We are going to have a lot of uncomfortableness in the meantime. Okay. So I listened today to part of the task force presentation again. And they're urging millennials. Millennials are the largest group of people that can make a difference here. Okay, they're urging millennials to stay home, avoid going out with their friends, trying to go to the beach, trying to hang out in massive groups. Hey, David, because they are the ones that probably will not have a serious infection, but they will potentially pass it on to people that might. Hi, Adele. Okay, so understand this is a group of people that think they're invincible. You know, I mean, remember back to when you were a teenager or in your 20s or whatever. You just don't think world events affect you. Okay, but this affects everybody. So if your teenager or 20-year-old or whatever goes out and comes in contact with somebody who also was in contact with somebody who had it, and maybe they get a mild cold or very minor infection, they could pass it on to you. Okay, You may have coexisting medical conditions. You may have grandparents or elderly people that you're in contact with or that you live with. Again, they could pass it on to those people, and those are the ones that could potentially have a life-threatening event because they get infected. Hi, Brandy. Hi, Missy. Okay, so understand that everybody doing their part. I'm not saying lock yourself in your house and not go out, but limit your exposure to big groups, to close contact, to places you don't need to be. Now, the testing that came out, I told you 2 million kits or thereabouts were released this week to testing facilities in the United States, but they've been prioritized to regions with higher numbers. So California, New York, Washington. Florida is state number 4, and it's not because Florida is I look at it and say, that's where I live. But think about the international travel locations. Where do people come in? Washington is an exclusion. That is kind of somewhat of an anomaly, although it is on the West Coast. So yes, people do come in from Asia that way. But California, New York, and Florida, it just makes sense. Okay? So those testing sites are going to be limited to the testing is going to be prioritized to areas where they need to test people. Now, interestingly, I canceled a doctor's appointment that I have for tomorrow. I spoke with my doctor. They're saying do not go to any appointments you do not need to go to at this point. If it's a routine follow-up, doctors are offering virtual appointments, telehealth type of appointments where they're not supposed to charge you a copay. Okay, so that is really interesting. My doctor was extremely understanding. We spoke and everything is okay, and I made an appointment for a month from now. Hopefully I'll be able to make that. Otherwise, I told him I'll postpone it until I can. But they're encouraging people to not go to the dentist, to cancel all elective procedures, surgeries, etc. The hospitals are canceling them. So you don't even have to, really. They're trying to preserve the hospital beds, the staff. They're trying to preserve the personal protective equipment that staff needs to use. So this is all in hopes of leveling that curve so that we can maintain the numbers within our healthcare system's capacity to take care of people. Interestingly, in New York, the Red Cross has a ship called the USNS Comfort. Very interesting. It has 1,000 beds. It's docked right now in New York City Harbor and will be used if necessary as a hospital to take care of people as an overflow for the hospital system. They are really working outside the box here to make things manageable for areas that are going to need the help. Adult living facilities, okay, like my parents, where they live, most of them that I know of, people, I have family, I have friends who have families in them, they're on lockdown, okay? Don't argue with these staff. Don't say you need to see your parents. I know it's hard. I know it's difficult. As long as they're getting food and water and you can communicate with them by phone, or if you can, I FaceTimed with my mother yesterday. She's pretty cool with that. So if you can do that and don't expose high-risk groups, even if you don't think you've been exposed, remember that incubation period could be anywhere from 4 to 14 days. So you don't know if you've been exposed. Once you find out you've been exposed or you have any type of symptoms, it may be too late to protect those people, okay? So avoid any high-risk group. Now, again, as I mentioned, U.S. cases were up to 8,034 with 124 fatalities. Florida is state number 4 with 314 cases and 7 fatalities. New York is the highest currently with 2,382 cases and with only 12 fatalities, however. So, like I said, that percentage of fatalities is low despite the high number of cases. Now, I found a really great, if you want to make yourself nuts and watch it, www.bing.com/COVID.
'Bing.com/COVID.
constantly updating the number of cases and fatalities. You can look at countries, you can look at states, you can look at all different kinds of things. So you can keep yourself in touch with what's going on. If it makes you crazy and it stresses you out, once a day, check in, get your information, and go about your life. Again, the number 2 thing I talked about yesterday, keeping calm and avoiding stress right now because it weakens your immune system. The number 2 recommendation is wash your hands. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. I went to the market today. I sprayed my cart with my Thieves spray because that's what I use. And I made sure it was nice and clean. I wiped it down with a clean towel. I held my cart. I picked up what I needed. I used hand sanitizer. I paid. I used hand sanitizer. I put stuff in my car. I used hand sanitizer. I drove home. I washed my hands. Okay? That is our new reality. Okay? There are people around you. You can't, unless you lock yourself in your house, you can't avoid other people. But again, limit exposure, keep your distance, and wash your hands. So any questions or anything that you guys are having difficulty understanding, I am by no means an expert, but I'll be happy to try and help you figure out the information, the numbers, whatever it may be that is of concern. And we will, as I say every day, we will get through this. Our best hope is that we don't infect anybody we love and that we keep each other as safe as possible. Okay, so if you think that you've been exposed, stay home. Contact your doctor, call the Florida Department of Health if you're in Florida, or the Department of Health wherever you live, and find out how you can be tested. Again, if you have no symptoms, chances are they're going to make you wait until you do, because you will test negative, but it may be a false negative because it's a premature test. Okay, meaning you may not test positive yet. You might possibly test positive if you waited a couple of days. Okay, but in the meantime, stay away from people if you think you've been infected. All right, so on that note, I'm going to wish everybody, I hope everybody stays safe. I hope everybody stays healthy. And I'll see you again tomorrow for another Live in 5.